All right, so today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, even a little unexpected. We're talking brain health, which is kind of my thing.
Always important.
Right. And we're looking at a patent, of all things, that really flips the script on what we think we know about protecting our brains.
Yeah, this one is a real head scratcher when you first see it.
Totally. So get this. The patent suggests using cannabinoids, like what's found in cannabis, to fight brain aging.
Specifically, it's U.S. Patent 6630507, and it really dives into this whole idea of using cannabinoids like CBD as antioxidants and neuroprotectants.
Okay, hold up a minute. Cannabinoids, as in from cannabis, to protect your brain.
You're picking up what we're putting down here.
I mean, that's not exactly the first thing that comes to mind.
I know, right? It seems counterintuitive, but that's what makes this patent so interesting. It's all about the science behind cannabinoids' antioxidant properties. We're talking about these compounds, how they work in the body at the cellular level.
So just to be crystal clear, we're not talking about, like, getting high.
Not at all. We're laser focused on how these compounds might protect the brain from something called oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress, that sounds intense. What is oxidative stress exactly?
Okay, so picture this. Your cells are under constant attack by these unstable molecules called free radicals. They're like tiny little troublemakers causing damage wherever they go. And that damage, my friend, that's oxidative stress. It's a natural process, part of life, but over time, it can really do a number on our bodies and especially our brains.
And our brains are particularly vulnerable. Why is that? We use them a lot, I guess.
You're on the right track. Our brains are energy guzzlers. They need a ton of fuel to function, and that high metabolic activity makes them super susceptible to damage from these free radicals. Think of it like a car engine that's always running hot, more prone to wear and tear.
So oxidative stress is like dot rust building up in our brain's engine.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
And just like rust can make a car break down, oxidative stress is linked to some serious brain diseases. We're talking Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, even stroke.
So we've got oxidative stress, the bad guy, causing all this damage. And now this patent is saying, hold on, cannabinoids to the rescue. Like they're stepping in to save the day.
Yeah. It's a pretty bold claim, right? But
Yeah.
that's what they're suggesting. And what's really wild is how these compounds actually work. The patent highlights how they act as antioxidants, like, how vitamin C or E work, but with some interesting twists.
Okay, so they're like, what? Little bouncers keeping those free radical troublemakers in check. But how much are we really talking here? How effective are these cannabinoids? Because let's face it, there's a lot of hype out there in the health world.
Oh, I totally agree. You got to be skeptical.
Yeah.
But in this case, the patent lays out some pretty compelling evidence. They did actual experiments testing different cannabinoids, including CBD. And what they found was that CBD, in certain situations, was even more effective than vitamin C at protecting brain cells from specific types of damage. Can you believe that? It was almost as potent as BHT.
BHT.
Yeah, BHT is a really strong, well-known antioxidant.
Huh, okay. Well, that's interesting. But a patent, I mean, it's not exactly a medical textbook, is it? So how do we know if these findings are reliable, really?
That's a fair point. We always have to remember that patents, even though they're based on scientific research, often reflect early findings. Think of it as the first chapter, not the whole story. This patent describes in vitro and in vivo studies.
Meaning, sorry.
It means they tested the cannabinoids in petri dishes, in the lab, and also on animals. Those are crucial first steps, but not the be-all and end-all, of course.
So promising, but more research is needed. Like, always.
Yeah, exactly. And the really cool thing is that the patent itself acknowledges that. It clearly states that we need more research, especially in humans, to really confirm these findings and figure out the right doses, and how to give these compounds to people effectively. Think of it like a starting point.
Okay, so it's like having a treasure map, but you still have to figure out how to get through the jungle to find the treasure.
You got it. That's a perfect analogy. And this patent, it's pointing to some really cool directions. For example, it gets into some nitty-gritty details about how CBD interacts with these things called lipoxygenases.
Lipo what now? You're going to have to break that one down for me.
Right. Lipoxygenases, they're like these tiny little regulators in our cells, and they're involved in inflammation. When you get a cut or something and it swells up?
Yeah.
Well, that's inflammation. And these lipoxygenases, they can either make it worse or tone it down. They're kind of like the volume knobs.
So too much of the wrong kind of lipoxygenase activity is bad news, basically.
Bingo. And here's the fascinating part. The patent suggests that CBD might actually target different types of lipoxygenases selectively.
Selective, huh? So it's like CBD is zeroing in on the troublemakers, calming things down where things are getting out of hand.
Exactly. It's like CBD is a conductor, right?
Yeah.
Making sure each section of the orchestra is playing at the right volume.
Oh,
And that selectivity, that's really key. It could mean way fewer side effects compared to some other antioxidants. Some of those are kind of like using a sledgehammer when what you really need is a scalpel.
I get that. So we've got these cannabinoids acting all targeted and precise, potentially shielding our brains from oxidative stress and inflammation. But okay, for our listeners out there, what's the, so what? We've been deep in the weeds on the science here. What's the big takeaway?
Absolutely. It's all about bringing it back to, well, what does it all mean, right? This patent, it's like a window into the future of brain health. Think about it. What if we could actually treat or even prevent diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, even stroke by using these natural compounds? That's what's so exciting about this.
Wow, yeah, that's huge. So it's not just like, oh, here's a new fact. It's a whole different way of thinking about how we approach brain health.
You got it. And even though this patent is from a little while back, it's really sparked a ton of new research into cannabinoids and what they can do, their therapeutic
It's
potential.
like this patent, it was like the initial spark, and now the research is really catching fire.
Exactly. And of course, there's still a lot we don't know, but the future of this field,
Hmm.
super promising,
Yeah.
really, really promising.
It's kind of wild to think about. Something as, I don't know, common as cannabinoids, maybe holding the key to treating some of these really challenging brain diseases that so many people are dealing with. It's pretty amazing.
It really makes you think, right? It speaks to just how powerful nature is
Yeah.
and how important scientific curiosity is.
Mm.
This patent is like a perfect example of how when we challenge our assumptions, when we're open to new possibilities,
Mm.
that's when we find these groundbreaking discoveries.
I love that. A huge thank you to you for this incredible deep dive with us into the world of cannabinoids and brain health. It's been fascinating. And to our listeners, as always, thank you for being here. We hope this episode has given you lots to think about, maybe sparked your own curiosity a little bit. And remember, there's always something new to learn and discover.